Alice, her Rotary Club in Uganda was seeking to do something for the elderly in her community, and so we thought we were going to, have some festival or something like that. Well, she got back to us and said, "No, we bought an ambulance with it," which is awesome.
It is awesome.
So it was like $2,500.
Right.
That your Duck Derby money.
Right.
Your Duck Derby tickets.
Right.
And that's a huge thing, to know that somewhere, in another part of the world that we would have no connection with today, their life may be saved because of that single thing.
Welcome to Payroc, Wyoming Spotlight on Casper Businesses, where we shine the light on incredible entrepreneurs and businesses that make our community thrive. Today we have a special guest in the studio. We have Dan Odell, who, as far as I know, is not in business, but he's involved in an amazing organization that, without question, makes Casper thrive. Dan is the current president of the Rotary Club of Casper. Dan, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Can we get this thing started by just telling us a little about yourself?
Sure. I'm a native of Casper. Grew up here, went to Natrona County High School, worked in several different things. Became an ordained minister. Starting in 1992, I served churches in Wyoming and in Colorado. And in 2013, came back to Wyoming. Got out of the hustle and bustle of Denver. Didn't like spending an hour and a half in the car every day. And,
don't blame you.
Came back in 2013, and I've been working in nonprofits and in the trying to make a difference in Casper. When I see a problem, I see what I can do to help be part of the solution.
Right. So. Now we can see that on your Facebook page. You're involved in things that are inside the organization we're going to talk about, but also outside. You do a lot for the community. So
thank you.
For those that have never heard of the Rotary, can you explain what it is, why it exists, and what we do? Because I actually met you for the first time in the Rotary Club. Yeah,
so Rotary is kind of a very unique organization. They call it a service organization, but for me, I think it's more of a membership organization. It was started in the early 1900s, 1905, I believe, in Chicago, and it was a group of business people who wanted to get together to support other businesses, and they call it Rotary because the meetings would rotate from different business to different business to different business. And after they met for about a year or two, they wanted to do something for the community, and so their first service project was a toilet in Chicago. Believe it or not, there weren't any toilets in Chicago for the public to use.
All right.
So the business people got together and they raised the funds. I think it was $100 or something like that, and they put the first outdoor toilet in Chicago. And since then, Rotary has grown, and one of the big things that we're known for now is we're very close to eradicating polio in the world, which is a incredibly crippling disease, and there have been a few cases in a few places in the east that we still have, but we're down to the single digits, which is an incredible thing. When you think about in the 1950s and 60s, people, the March of Dimes and all of the work that it did to bring vaccines to people. I mean, the world is a much better place because of the polio vaccine. That's for
absolutely
sure.
Yeah. I think it still exists in some countries in Africa and then Asia. But you're absolutely right. There was a presentation a few weeks back at the club, and they were talking about what's happened over the past several years and the involvement that the Rotary has to eradicate, produce vaccines, and to see this eliminated from our lives on the planet. And I think that's an amazing accomplishment. So
yeah.
That's great.
What
about Casper? I know that we also do things here in Casper.
Sure.
What are some of the contributions that the Rotary has done here locally in Casper?
Well, I think the biggest thing that we're known for is Rotary Park. So the Garden Creek Falls headed up to Casper Mountain. The Rotary Club purchased the land for that, but when back in the early 1920s, I believe, and created a park. And there was actually there's actually a nudist colony right next door. And
oh, really?
There was some talk in the some jokes in the club in the early days about whether or not to build a fence or not, or if the fence should be visible from both sides. So anyway, it was a little controversial at the time to have a place of recreation right next to a nudist colony. But anyway, I think it was more of an artist colony, but they may have done some life drawing. But anyway, then we did some improvements to Garden Creek Falls, created a park, and then I can't remember the exact dates, but we turned it over to the county a few years back, and so Natrona County Parks have been maintaining it. And when the Rotary Club, when they need some benches, or when they need, when there's an Eagle Scout that needs a service project, they'll come to us and say, can we do some trail maintenance? Can we build some fencing? Can we build a bench? That kind of thing. We'll do that. There was a few years ago when we did some major renovations, when built a bridge. But it's really one of the gems of the community, and it's a tourist.
It is.
People will come and they'll go to
absolutely.
To Rotary Park, and so we're lucky to have that. We've also recently helped out some other parks, and of course 21 years ago we did Adventure Park, which is at just off of North Poplar Street. Some people call it Castle Park, but it's near the Mike Lansing softball fields.
Okay.
And so people will bring their kids there. And 2 years ago, we completed a bouldering park, and we had it. It was designed by some world-class bouldering climbing outfits. Yeah, in Colorado.
All right.
And we installed that a couple of years ago. So, the Rotary Club of Casper is kind of known for supporting outdoor recreation, getting people out and enjoying.
I also see in different parks around town, you can see the Rotary Club plaques. What are they doing with parks?
Oh, so we've built shelters, and we've donated. We've supported the city of Casper with varying projects throughout the years. Last year, we helped to do some modifications to the skateboard park for the younger folks. We're going to help build some handicap accessible park playthings for. I don't know how else to describe it, but for young folks. At City Park, we've done some improvements in Mills. We're branching out to Mills and helping a couple of parks there. And so, yeah, we've because people support us with their Duck Derby tickets by buying Duck Derby tickets. We then take the money and put that towards local projects.
So there's a couple major fundraisers every year, and you mentioned the Duck Derby. What is the Duck Derby? What is that?
So the Duck Derby is a rubber duck race down the Platte River, and so it's anywhere from 1,500 to 5,000 ducks, depending upon how many of your listeners are going to buy tickets this year.
Right.
And
did you hear that?
the more the better. But
right.
So each duck has a number. And then we have a computer that takes the number and scrambles it and assigns it another number. And anyway, the duck that crosses the finish line first wins $5,000. And so there's usually a $5,000 cash prize, a couple other cash prizes, and then a whole lot of other businesses will donate.
That's what I noticed. A lot of businesses will support that and sponsor by offering goods or services from their businesses. So it's a way for them to invest by sponsoring with but also the money that's raised goes toward these different initiatives in the community.
Yeah, improvements to improve the quality of life.
Right,
well.
right. So it's a great fundraiser. Is it the largest fundraiser the Rotary does every year?
It is. It is the largest fundraiser. We also have a golf tournament, which goes for international projects. We have partnered. Rotary International has partnered with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and others, so that if we raise $15,000 at our golf tournament, it gets doubled. So we're actually raising $45,000 to eradicate polio in the world. And We've also got some malaria initiatives and other things as well.
So
but, yeah.
the funds that are raised in those events, they go toward international projects or local projects or a mix of both?
So the golf tournament supports the international projects,
Okay.
and the Duck Derby supports local projects.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So how are the different needs in the community identified? Because there's, in the meetings every week that we go to, we often hear about things projects we're going to work on and things we're going to do. How do we do that? How do we choose which ones are the best ones to work on?
Sure, that's a great question. And oftentimes people will bring an idea to the board, and the board makes the decision on whether or not we can do it, if we've got the capacity to do it, and is it a great fit for what we do. We completed a couple of projects. There's a young man, so the Olivia Caldwell Foundation brought us a project, a young man who has a really terrifying disease called giantism. And so he's, I believe he's 17 years old, and he hasn't reached puberty yet, but he's 6'7" and weighs 350 pounds.
Wow.
And yeah, and so it's pretty sad. So we moved a 440-pound bed into his house, and the bed was available at the Brain Injury Alliance. They have a great nonprofit as well. They have a charity closet where if you have an extra wheelchair or a walker, you can donate it there and it'll get reused. Well, they had an adjustable bed, and then we raised money at our Christmas party to buy a mattress and bedding for the young man. So that was a recent project. We also have been helping an adult. He's about 45. He's got some delayed developmental abilities, as well as has some pretty significant mental illness. His name is Jimmy, and his parents, they're passed away now, but they gave him a house. And because they were pretty ill before they gave him the house, it was in pretty terrible disrepair. We recently partnered with MC Roofing and Beacon Building Products and replaced the roof for him. Oh, wow. So there's some other projects at Jimmy's house that we're working on. We've got some interior work to do because he's had he had a hole in his roof, and the rain was coming into his kitchen, and so it destroyed a cabinet. We've got some mold remediation to do and a few other things. But he's a sweet guy, and there are people in our community that just have projects that they can't afford or can't do, and so it really ties into one of Rotary's core values, which is service above self. And I got involved in the Rotary Club thinking that I was going to make all these great connections and make all these great be a great opportunity for business. But what I really found out was that what I needed more than anything was connection and friendships, and that's what the Rotary Club has done for me. Is I've got all these great friends now,
right?
And when we do have a project where we can make a difference, we can call, when we need concrete advice for the skate park, we can call, Steve from 71 Construction. And, we've just, like Martin Luther King Day coming up, we've got a service project to build or to put together kits for the homeless, sanitary kits. And, Lance Porter over at Banner, the CEO at Banner Health, I was like, how many tampons can you get me? And he's like, how many do you want? And so I've got, several hundred tampons and sanitary pads. And so, yeah. So
you're absolutely right.
It's just a great connection. When you need something, you know who to reach out to.
Absolutely. It's a great organization to create those relationships, but all focus on the same goals of community service and service above beyond self. Absolutely.
Indeed.
There's another project that we often talk about. I think monthly there's the food bank.
Right.
And Guy DeWitt is in charge of that project, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
How does that is that something that we've been involved in for a while now?
I've been a member of the club for about 8 years, and we've always done it. So yeah, Food Bank of Wyoming, we put together so it happens the first Monday after our meetings, and we'll get 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 people, whoever can go, to go and pack frozen food boxes, and it's a lot of fun. And yeah, it's just like an hour and a half, but it really helps those nonprofits, because then they take that food that's been donated by the grocery stores. We put it in 20-pound boxes, and then those 20-pound boxes can be distributed through the local food banks to individuals. So you can get a 20-pound box of meat. And the nonprofits will either use that for food preparation to help others, or those boxes will be then distributed to families. So it's a huge help. I was talking with a homeless person yesterday, in fact, and we were talking with another individual who was hungry, and he was like, the great thing about Casper is there's plenty of food. I mean, there's Joshua Storehouse, there's Food Bank of the Rockies, there's poverty resistance, there's all the different churches that have food banks. That's one of the things that Casper really excels at. It's getting food out to people.
Absolutely. So, no, you're absolutely right. There's a lot of organizations that are involved in deed, not just in what they say they're going to do. They're out there on the streets helping people. That's just wonderful. Yeah. We seem to have a lot of activities, international as well, that are connected locally. I know we had a project for solar panels recently. Yeah. Tell us a little about that.
Yeah, I forgot all about that. So
we're doing too much. That's
why. No, we're not doing enough. So in the Ukraine, one of the big issues with the war that's going on there right now is when infrastructure gets destroyed. People still need to have a connection to their family and friends, and so there was a group. He came up from, I think it was Boulder, Colorado, but he came up and did a presentation on how to take a solar panel and modify it. Simply add a charging port to the back of it, and so we. What's his name from
Keyhole?
Keyhole, yeah. Keyhole Technologies. Brad Cundy, thank you very much. So Brad had 10 solar panels. He upgraded some solar panels a few years ago, and he had 10 solar panels in his warehouse. And he's like, well, I've got 10 of these. So we started fabricating a charging station on the back of it. And so you can charge up to 4 cell phones through one of these solar panels. So we've sent the 10 solar panels to the Ukraine. We sent them in, I believe it was last month, and finally worked out, how to get the shipping and all that. And and so it's a great thing. So people from the community can go to their school and charge their cell phone, and then be able to tell their family and friends that it's.
What's interesting about that project, in my opinion, it was more than just donating, because we can donate, and that's important. And I think donations are vital, and generosity is important. But our group, as well as I think they invited other children and students to actually do the work of making the conversions or preparing the boxes or something over at Keyhole business. And so they were involved in getting those panels ready and then shipping. So there is an involvement that takes place. It's not just throwing our money here and there. It's it's service beyond self.
Well, and that's the whole reason, I think, why we do things is to not only make a difference in the world, but in making a difference in the world, it makes a difference to us, and it makes us better people. So that's
absolutely,
that's been fantastic.
There's a lot of missionaries that I've spoken to about their trips abroad, and they, of course, they do great work. But most of them say that the work, the bigger impact is in themselves. Is to see people in different situations and how they're thriving and surviving or thriving, and that impacts us. So by being involved. I was impressed. Months ago, we talked about we talked about a project that was actually years ago about giving a ambulance to someplace in South America, and I believe we just renewed that. Didn't we just send another ambulance or purchase it?
We bought we did a couple of fire trucks for Juarez, Mexico.
Okay.
But recently, so we had an exchange student from Uganda last year. Alice is her name, and so exchange students. That's a totally another thing so Rotary is about building peace among other nations, and one of the ways that we do that is by sharing students. And so when we realize that somebody from a place that we may have been afraid of or might practice a different religion, we find out, oh, they're just human beings just like us. It tends to do that. Well, Alice, her Rotary Club in Uganda was seeking to do something for the elderly in her community, and so we thought we were going to have some festival or something like that. Well, she got back to us and said, no, we bought an ambulance with it. Which is awesome.
It is awesome.
So it was like $2,500.
Right.
That your Duck Derby money.
Right.
Your Duck Derby tickets.
Right.
And that's a huge thing. To know that somewhere, in another part of the world that we would have no connection with today, their life may be saved because of that single thing. I mean, that's right. Huge. So it's changing the world in a very small way,
right.
But it's still changing the world.
Absolutely, no, that's obvious. I mean, with the local things we're doing as well as the international things, there's definitely impacts, taking place and trying to see things, seeing the world change little by little, doing our part. What are your aspirations and hopes for the next year, 2 years, as the president of the current president of the Rotary Club? Yeah. So I want to continue to build on the successes that we have in the past. I want to continue to engage more people in the projects. I see the club growing interpersonally as well as in numbers, and so I'm grateful for the impact that this podcast is making. And certainly, if there's anybody who's interested in joining the club, get in touch with me or get in touch with you, and we'd be glad to bring you to a meeting. We'll buy you lunch, and if it's something that you want to get involved with, we'd be glad to have you. But yeah, we've got some. There are a lot of challenges still in the community of Casper and in the world, and we need help. So absolutely, that was my next question was, how can we get involved? And so it's not a closed club by any means. No. The doors are open. If you want to get involved, reach out to Dan or reach out to myself, and we'll tell you more about how you can get involved in the Rotary. Thank you for joining us today.
I'm grateful to be here.
Thank you for joining us on Payroc, Wyoming Spotlight on Casper Businesses. Don't forget to like and subscribe and comment with your thoughts on what inspired you, but most of all, share these inspiring stories. We'll see you again in a couple weeks.